Now hold on to your seats. Consumers in South Africa can expect to pay up to 120 Rand for 2 litres of cooking oil within the next month. Now, this is according to Southern Oil, the company that produces various oil brands in South Africa. Southern Oil says that at the moment, millions of tons of sunflower oil earmarked for export are actually stuck in Ukraine. Now, the oil company says that prices will remain high at least until September, when European crop, if good, may ease some of the supply constraints. So for more on this, we're joined by the Commercial Director of oil company Southern Oil Limited, Mornè. Thanks for your time this morning and welcome to Morning Live, Mornè.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me.
120 Rand for 2 litres of sunflower oil. That's huge, and especially given, the backdrop of the constraints that consumers are already having to deal with and can afford. So what is the actual reason for this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So South Africa as a country is a net importer of all vegetable oils. So the impact for us is anything that happens in the world that affects world supply and demand directly affects us. So we produce about 70% of our local demand in soft oils being sunflower, canola, soya oil. And in oils and fats, we produce only 45% of our local supply. That is now including palm oil and other oils. So what happened before the war was that there's been a shortage on soya and canola due to droughts in the Americas, meaning it started pushing up prices. So what the market then does, it reverts to an alternative being sunflower and palm oil. On the palm oil side, what happened from Indonesia and Malaysia was due to COVID, had labor issues, so they blocked certain exports of their product, meaning there was a shortage of palm, meaning the world was waiting for the sunflower crop from Europe. And as everybody was waiting for that crop to be released, the war broke out, and suddenly there's no sunflower flowing into the world. And Ukraine and Russia consisting about 70% of sunflower exports. So that means the whole complex of oils is sitting at a very high level.
And, it's interesting that this comes to light now, because I think, like many other consumers, I personally just took it for granted that this is not a thing for us as South Africans, because although we may complain about the price, we've never really had to look very far to find, sunflower oil. But is there any quick solution, given the factors and geopolitical matters that you've just pointed out? Is there another solution that can be found, Mornè?
Yeah, I think the important part is to understand that everything is in a balance. So with the prices moving up, the demand will slow down. With demand slowing down, Malaysia and Indonesia already started opening up palm supplies. The rest of the world is starting to plant a little bit more for next season of sunflower and canola. So suddenly it's starting to look a little bit more positive. And with that demand decreasing on sun, prices will become stable. It won't necessarily decrease that quickly, but at least it will become stable. The big risk is, however, if Ukraine and Russia's war continues for longer, and it's currently the planting season in Ukraine for both canola and sunflower, meaning then it will run into the next season, which is a risk.
So locally, are there any alternatives that we can call on? And what about prices of other products that do depend on and contain oil?
Alternatives, like I said, you can switch between oils. You can move from a sunflower to a canola. You can move from a canola to a soya, but the whole complex is higher. So I think the big important part is not to waste. So to use your product sparingly, you do get filters to filter the oil after use so that you can use it longer. and just look at how you consume. The second part of it as well is in regards to other products where it's in. You will be funny to understand that canola, or let's say vegetable oil, is in most products being produced, ready meals. If you look at snacks, if you look at margarine, sauces, condiments. So that will mean, with that being an input product into those products, the whole complex will move up. And as you would have seen now, it's not just the oil that's affected, it's the grain side as well, meaning the whole food complex is getting slightly hyperinflated with pricing. And it's going to affect our pockets.
As is everything else at the moment, Mornè. Not too sure where to turn to as consumers at this point. But with regard to the pricing, so and picked up on this incidentally when people started complaining about doing their grocery shopping and realizing that the price has actually gone up significantly, and now we're talking about that price maybe even reaching the 120 rand mark for 2 litres. Are we likely to see that? And also, when are we likely to see a relief from such hefty prices that we are paying now?
Yeah, I think you would have seen that the market is already over 100 rand on oil. And the full increases has been passed on, but it's not flowed through to the consumers on shelf in retail yet. So that should be happening within this month. So certain retailers might have a little bit of stock that they were carrying to keep the prices more stable, but in the end, they're going to have to move. And you're going to be looking at, depending on where you shop, at 100 to 120 rand for a 2 litre. And this should remain at least till September. So you might see some relief come September if weather is good and the crops being harvested in Europe on sunflower and canola and local crops is good, then there might be some relief. But we won't go back to the levels we've seen pre-COVID and even last year very soon. I think the biggest impact for us will be to see how the weather is during the planting season, as well as how the war flows within Ukraine and Russia, and what impact the rest of the world has in planting more. Because if they can plant a little bit more of sunflower and canola and ease the pressure on the supply, then the prices could stabilize. But I think we're not in for a short run.
And just in terms of the supply, Mornè, are we in any real danger of seeing panic buying at this stage?
Yeah, there is a risk. So the risk is that consumers try and buy in before the prices move, and then the manufacturers might not be able to keep up with the demand quick enough. If we go look at oil-wise, I don't think in South Africa we're that at risk. Yes, we're a net importer, but I think we're fairly secured in stock into South Africa and into the stores. The risk will just be at those periods when there is panic buying, and if that happens, then we can run short for a short while. So the advice would be not to panic buy. Buy up a little bit, but more rather look at your consumption, look at how you use the oil, and not panic buy.
Well, Mornè Botha, thanks so much for your time this morning. Commercial Director for oil company Soil, Mornè Botha, is talking to us about how the oil price for sunflower oil, cooking oil, is likely to go up to 120 rand for 2 litres within the next month. So we're going to take a quick break before we get